Hello everybody, it's June 8th, and as you are noticing, I finally got my hair cut. Yay, yay. That's been since, before the lockdown. I was supposed to get a haircut the day that the governor shut us down. I know many of you have the same situation, but it's very nice not to have that shaggy look. Anyhow, today we were going to talk about circumcision, and I will, but before we get there, a couple of you have asked, couldn't you use another name other than Worrier? And the answer is, what I would like you to do is rethink the word warrior, just like rethink the word power. Power is to empower, Power over is what we always think of, that someone's going to do it to us. They have more power. With warrior, I happen to have my North Node in Aries. The North Node, the nodes of the moon, are your soul trajectory. So if you ever have an astrologic reading, you got to find out where the nodes are. They look like the nodes on an astrologic chart. The North Node looks like an inchworm, like a little U shape. And the house position and the sign is related to your soul trajectory. And what you come in with is the South Node. It's like a trampoline. So my South Node is fourth house, home and roots, the little woman, home with the family. I'm really good at that. But you have to do your North Node or your life doesn't work. But it's not what you really want to do, kind of. Anyway, the big topic. So warrior is somebody who, even though they're afraid, stands in the truth. It doesn't mean violence. It means someone who stands for the truth. And that is what I have done my entire career. Stand for the truth of the mother not being separated from her child. Stand for the truth of the fact that we are born intact and everything is working. So why is it that we're removing a part of the male body routinely in a newborn that is incredibly painful with no anesthesia most of the time? Why are we doing that? And I asked those questions years ago, before it was popular. So at the time that I started to talk about, try to talk people out of a circumcision with information, notice all your studies and all your intellect doesn't change a thing. Notice that. That's why we have to be kind and we have to be loving and we have to see when someone is ready to give them the information. So at this point in time, I think that the routine infant circumcision rate is down to 60%, but it was 99% at the time that I was doing the procedure. And when I first learned, I was told by the physician who taught me that babies didn't feel it. Can you imagine? Babies didn't feel it, really. So why is it that this perfectly calm little baby who we have strapped down to a board called a circumstrint, arms and legs out, held in place with Velcro straps, and then the minute you start cutting that tissue, the child has that scream where it's so painful they can't even get it out fast enough, and you become, the doctors and nurses are just inured to that, like, oh, that isn't happening. But the first time I learned, the med student just fainted. Why? Because her body let her know what was really going on. And by the way, did you know that it was not until 1997 when the medical profession actually studied an infant's nervous system and found nociceptors, that's pain fibers. Before that, they would do cardiac surgery on babies with no anesthesia because they can't feel. That's a belief system that ran so deep in the medical profession that they could literally strap a baby boy down and cut off the most sensitive part of the body with probably 40,000 nerve endings and say that they didn't feel it, and that it was medically necessary. Why would someone be born with a part that you needed to cut off? And by the way, even Jewish people are rethinking the procedure and they're doing the bris without making a cut. Kelly Brogan has actually talked about, blood rituals and what does this go back to, and we won't get into that. But the prepuce is the name of the organ in the male, and the prepuce is this, okay? tennis ball, sock. I figured if I actually had my model of what's really going on, we would totally be banned. Okay, the prepuce like this is connected to the underlying glands by fibers, and it doesn't retract, sometimes till age 7 or 8. It's not supposed to be retracted. You know, all this malarkey about how, well, you have to retract it to keep it clean. No, you don't. Think kitten eyelids or puppies. When a kitten is born, its eyelids are fused shut. And then over time, the cells change and the eyes open. Well, it is the same with the foreskin. When it's time to retract, it will retract easily. You don't need to push it down. Now, our people at Doctors Opposing Circumcision, DOC, they get 2 to 3 calls a day from mothers who went in, let's say they went into the emergency room because the child had a cough or a fever. And some dude or woman takes off the diaper. Hello, we're here for a cough. Takes off the diaper and pushes down the foreskin. Happens all the time. So we have little stickers that say, I'm intact, don't retract. American pediatricians in general do not know how to deal with an intact penis, which is very telling to me anyway. Now, there's the old adage, he needs to look like his father. No, he doesn't. Let me tell you how my sister dealt with that. She has 3 boys. The little boys would sit in the tub and they'd pull back their foreskin and say, now I'm like daddy. And then they push it back. Now I'm like me. Now I'm like daddy. Now I'm like me. You see, that works for everybody. Now, so what you want to do, you don't remember, it's adhered to the glands. You don't need to go in there and push anything back. It does that all by itself. The reason people say, well, I better do it now, otherwise I'll have to do it later. Actually, you won't. The reason you'd have to do it later is that some dude comes in and goes, and then you've got bleeding and scarring that is iatrogenic, meaning it's caused by the doctor. Now, I want to get into a little bit of the sexual aspects of circumcision. And when you have an intact penis that then gets erect, we're now going to make this erect. Okay, you got all this extra skin around here. And this connects with, assuming you are heterosexual and this is going into a vagina. I understand that is not always the case, okay? That is my experience. So the extra skin here connects with the rugae, these wrinkles in the vagina, and it allows the penis during intercourse to stimulate the entire clitoral system of a woman. Now, in the United States, only 25% of women have an orgasm with intercourse. And part of the reason for that is that they are having sex with men who are not intact. And so they don't get the stimulation. I had one woman who had been able to have sexual experiences with both intact and unintact. And she said the unintact penis, the circumcised penis, first of all, by the way, when you've removed the foreskin, what do you get? You get the glands, the most sensitive part, exposed to the elements. So all these sensitive nerve endings here, it gets like a callus on the top, so it's not nearly as sensitive. So she said it's like having an organ that's blind. It just keeps thrusting to try to stimulate itself. Whereas if it has this covering, like keeping it nice and sensitive, then when you have sex, then it's very, very sensitive and it's a different experience. There's a whole book about it called Sex the Way Nature Intended. Now, for those of you who did not know this, and that's a lot of you, when you had your baby boys, I am so sorry. I am only one person. I have done whatever I can to atone for the fact that I did tens of these hundreds because it was part of my job. I would never do one again. I could almost never talk anyone out of it, even though I gave them all the information. I couldn't talk mothers into coming in while I was doing it. I would tell them that it would result in 3 days of sleep and feeding disorders. Didn't matter. didn't matter. And you've noticed this, right? In the current situation, you try to talk to anyone about a mask or about vitamin D or vitamin C, and if they are not there, they're not there. So it doesn't really matter. And you didn't know. And some of you listening, because I've heard this too, you're just very happy that you did it. And everyone's happy and you don't know any different, and that's okay too. Okay? But if you want to know more, or you know someone who's about to have a baby, like one of your daughters, you should go to circumcision.org. This organization has been run out of Boston by, I think, Ronald Goldman for years and years. And as I said, Jewish people are now rethinking the ritual, and they're doing the bris, but without cutting. All right? Babies can feel it. And I believe that it leads to a kind of distrust of the world and of women. You come into the world. I had a colleague who circumcised babies in the delivery room to get it over with. I mean, it's bad enough that we clamp the cord before they're fully breathing. Now, we clamp the cord, can't breathe. Now they're, now they're mutilating the most sensitive part of my body. Okay, I could go on and on. I won't. I'm very sorry. I know that this information is disturbing. That's why we have to be warriors. There's a lot of disturbing information out there right now, right? Waking up is hard to do. But as we do it together, it's easier and easier, because you are not the only one. Not the only one. We're the star seeds, remember? They called us down. And here we are, spreading the light.